how do I make people know what I do?
But if you don't take yourself out of the cocoon to show people what you are and what you can do, what you're capable of, then nobody will know. Make sure you decorate the conversation. After that conversation, how much have you benefited? And how much has the other person benefited from you? You know? Welcome back, friends, to another conversation on health and wealth with my friend Kelvin Malunga. We're very glad that you've tuned in again and we're being consistent and following this journey that we're taking. And today we're bringing yet another interesting conversation. And because of that, we want you to subscribe and like this video and also share it to your friends that you think will benefit from the conversation that we're having today.
Yes. And as health and wealth, we are very big with friendship.
Yes.
We really value friendship so much that I think in every episode we make sure we hint on friendship.
Exactly.
And I want to also hint on the topic that we'll talk about today. Today we talk about social capital. We will unpack it in details.
Yes.
What we know about it, why you should have this social capital, whatever it is. But just tune in so that you know more about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So be there as we're talking about this. And I think you made a very good connection to come from friendship and to go to social capital. Because I think as we're talking about social capital, that's another thing. And that's another social capital.
It's social capital.
Exactly. Investing in friendships, good friendships.
Yeah, and we like to say that you guys are our friends. You know, as we are sitting on this table, just me and Cecilia, Phiri, you're together with us. And we want to equip each other this year with more skills on how we can show up as friends and how, if anything, there's a way to benefit from these friendships, or if anything, what social capital can really do to us and how we can maintain it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's start like this, Kelvin. How do you understand social capital? What is it?
Yeah, for me, in like my simplest understanding, I believe social capital is the value that you can find in the connections that you have, the value in terms of like how you can grow towards, you can like gravitate towards your goals more based on the kind of surrounding, especially the human surrounding that you have. So that's how I understand it. I don't know what you think about it yourself.
Yeah, I agree with you. And to me, I look at social capital as a resource, and it's a resource that we get from people, from the connections that we make with people, as you have said, from friendships and relationships. And this is bigger than professional life. This is bigger than a business life. But how do you relate to other people on a social basis? And then to make sure that you maintain these relationships and connections that you have with people and you make them benefit you. Because remember, as health and wealth, the ultimate goal is that the friendships that we have should benefit us in terms of our health and also to build wealth.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. I like the fact that you are talking about benefiting, because I think most of the times we are, into friendships or these social situations based on coincidences most of the time.
Yeah.
But I think it's possible to also intentionally build this social capital. What do you think?
Actually, that's how it should be done. Just making friends like we did in school, in primary school, in high school, it's very different. Where just by you sitting on the same desk as me, we end up being friends. You and I became friends because we're in the same class. That's how we usually do it. But as you grow older, you start to realize that some of these friendships do not benefit you. And in that regard, you start eliminating. As we grow, we lose friends, we make new friends. And usually, when we're making friends when we're older, we make intentional friends. You look at somebody's, what value are they going to add to your life, and you admire that, and you want them to be in your life. And to me, I just feel like, because most of us do that at a later stage in life, when we realize how important friends are. And I just feel like, because we know, then we should not wait for something to happen for us to do that. I'll give you a very good example that happened, like here in Malawi. You know how maybe you're trying to process especially these things that require processing, like a passport, like a driving license, how it's so difficult, it takes so much time. But you look at people that have friends in those departments, and then you start thinking to yourself, if only I had a friend.
Exactly.
And then you hear somebody that you knew from school works there, and you're like, oh, show me the number.
Exactly.
And then you start thinking, what if I already had that friend,
Yeah, and this friendship is like, it's a form of power, because it gives you information. Because if someone works at a certain place, they know something that you don't know.
Yeah.
Because they're in that field, and if you're making your passport, they already know like how you can easily go about it.
Exactly.
Because most of the time I find myself stuck. I'm like, okay, for example, I've started a business. How do I go about ensuring, like putting insurance into my business?
Yes.
Recently, I met a friend who works at an insurance company, and he explained everything smoothly, and I was like, how come I didn't know about it? He's like, most people don't know about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, it's wonderful to have you as a friend.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So you see the benefit. Most of the times we see the benefits when you run into, maybe you're looking for information, or you run into trouble. You run into trouble with the MRI that you haven't been doing, processing your taxes, and then that's when you're like, oh my god, who works at MRI? They need to help me. My shop needs to be open before all that.
And we've all been in this situation. And we keep being in this situation.
Yes.
And the sad part is, we go towards people when we need them. And
you don't maintain
it,
until you need them again some other time, and then you go back. But the essence of this discussion is that we need to be intentional about making friendships, and we need to see our friends as our capital, our social capital, and know that you need to have multiple friends in multiple places that they can help you in so many situations. We talk about all these connections. Of course, some of them lean towards nepotism. But when we're talking about connections, sometimes I'm gonna go straight to what you mentioned, to say friends are a source of information, which is very, very true. Sometimes the connections that people talk about, to say, oh, you got a job because of connections. It's not about that. Sometimes it's just because you got the information. There are some places that you will not see an advertisement of a vacancy in a newspaper. You will not see somebody posting on social media. But the workers there, the people that work there, they know that there's a vacancy out. And if you have a friend there, that's when they're going to remember and to say, oh, Kelvin, you studied education. They're looking for somebody to do this.
And it's a wonderful thing to do, to give information to your friends. And I know a lot of people from other countries. For example, I know a number of Nigerian friends from when I was doing my master's. So they do this a lot. When they see an opportunity, they are more likely than us Malawians to share it among themselves. That's why you find out that in most cases, the representation of Malawians, let's say, outside on the international scale, like in global organization,
it's so minimal.
You
so
see,
small.
It's so small.
Because as I was saying, you see, there's some organizations that it's so unlikely to see a vacancy out there.
Yeah.
But the people that are there, that are close to that organization, they know, oh, United Nations is recruiting. You know, World Health Organization is recruiting. And then you just have people that can mention your name right there. And as you say, it's so true. Here in Malawi, we're not big at that. And it's so unfortunate.
So unfortunate.
You know, when you know people, you know what they do, you know what they are good at, you should be able to mention people.
You should be able to mention. And you know what I like also about like my friendship with Cecilia is we have found ourselves in many places together, like especially after school.
Yeah.
That because of sharing information, it's either we're volunteering at the same place several times, or we're working in the same place, or we have a gig that we're doing together. And I just wanted to emphasize that the people who are watching should know that we're not just speaking about
it's something done.
It's something tasting. We can show you the selfies and pictures if you want.
Yeah. So it's true, and it's important. It goes back to make an emphasis that the social capital is going to help you. Actually, it's going to determine the places that you're going to find yourself into. And trust me, Kelvin, for you to have people that mention your name in the room that you're not there, trust me, you have found you have reached that ultimate goal of connections.
Exactly.
Because one thing that most of us are very good at is to mention people because we've seen them. You know, like you're discussing something and then you see me walk back and you're like, oh, by the way, that can be done by Cecilia, you know? But if I didn't pass, would you have mentioned me? And to find those people, to find those friends that can do that, those are people that you need to keep. Those are your real connections.
And one thing I like about you is you show us your work. You are so confident in what you do that you make sure that you hint about what you do. And I think it makes it easy for us to know what you do and to somehow mention you in certain places. So what would you say like about what would you advise? Like, I know there are teachers out there that perhaps don't want to mention that they teach. I see it a lot. Even when we were at school, there were classmates that were so shy among like gatherings to say that they're teaching. You know, for example, there's like lawyers, there's like social scientists, and then there's you who is a teacher. I would see the social scientists really vocal there, the economics and stuff. I don't know when it comes to teaching, but I think you are by far I don't know if it's the only teacher, but who is so confident at her job and loves it so much and shares it with everyone else. So what would you advise? I don't know what to say.
To me, I think if you really love what you do, it all goes to if you're passionate about what you do. I'm sure other teachers don't do that, or they're shy about it, their work, because maybe it's not their passion. I'm passionate about teaching, you know, like when I'm in class and I'm teaching, that's when I reach my euphoria. That's it. So that's why I do it. And also, I've built a business around my career. My business in as a tutoring agency. Yes, people have to know about it. People have to first of all know that I am a teacher, and we are a group of teachers that help students. You know, so my advice to people out there is when you meet, especially new people, tell them what you do. Most of us waste time in conversations that don't really help us, don't really push our work, don't really push our businesses. You need to ask yourself every time you meet a friend or somebody new, you're sitting at a restaurant, you're having a conversation. After that conversation, how much have you benefited? And how much has the other person benefited from you? You know, always try to push in a conversation that will end up benefiting you even 10 years to come. Because it's not only about the beauty of one conversation that you and I would have while seated here, but how will that conversation also help me in years to come? I tell you, when it comes to cascade tutors, I get calls from people that will say, I was at a conference with Dr. Something, Professor Something, and he mentioned that you can help my daughter or my son, you know. It means when I was interacting with that particular person, I mentioned, you know, mention whatever it is that you do. Right now, in this age, we're not really good at having cards, you know. I always collect cards from people. But make sure you mention, I bake cakes, I do catering. If you have a function at home, even if it's just small, that day you just want to have a good lunch at home, you can call us, we'll make lunch for you and bring it to you. Make sure you are mentioning things that will benefit you, even beyond the one conversation. Yes.
And I think when we look at social capital, and what you have just said, which I actually agree with and like so much, is that a capital should be protected and as well as grown from where it is.
Yeah.
So if your capital, for example, let's say a business was 50,000, it doesn't have to remain 50,000. It has to grow. And one way of growing that is, like you have said, making sure that you water a conversation with what you do. People should know who you are. So it's a kind of watering a conversation that will lead to the growth of that social capital.
That's true. And make sure you decorate the conversation. If you've ever been in a conversation with me, you know that I know how to decorate a conversation. And the way you prepare for your interviews, the question, tell us about yourself. In an interview, it's very different with tell us about yourself if we're just sitting here. If I ask you, Kelvin, tell me about yourself, you just go like, I'm Kelvin.
The question you asked me in the previous episode.
Who are you?
Yeah.
So I ran Gamer Strategy. You stop there. But if you are at that interview chair and then there's that panel there and you really want that job, if they ask you, tell us about yourself, what do you say? You bring in all those nice things about you. Even some things that you just forgot.
Some things they're just like, I hope they don't listen.
Yeah. So imagine if you were taking your introductions with anybody like that.
And that just reminded me, I once actually asked you that, okay, so there was a year I was so busy with so many things. I had a very good experience, in volunteering, in teaching, and, non-governmental work. I had a very good experience, but no one knew about it. And I don't know if you remember, but I literally asked you, how do I make people know what I do? I am happy, I have passion of what I'm doing, but apparently I discovered that no one knows. And it's almost useless. Can't take me anywhere beyond where I am.
Exactly. That's what happens. And that's what happens with most of us. When they say the A students end up working for the C students, it also comes from there. Because the C students know where things are done. They know where people are making money. They know, and you're busy with your degree that is decorated and you're sitting, you don't have friends. And especially our education that we're scientists, we run into that problem a lot. A lot of scientists do not have friends outside their career or outside their academic life. And trust me, it's jobs, sorry, doesn't do well. It's something that you can do out there. So bring in your experience and then let other people help you towards what you can do with your knowledge. Because it's not all of us that can become people that will end up with a very big idea from our own thinking. There are some people that will literally just come to say, oh, you did microbiology? Do you know that we can start making biofertilizer from that? I know people we can sell to. You know the science. Let's do
this. Yeah.
There's going to be those moments. But if you don't take yourself out of the cocoon to show people what you are and what you can do, what you're capable of, then nobody will know. In a way, I go. People know me as a scientist and a teacher, and I love it like that because that ends up helping me in a way that when something like that is mentioned, when somebody is looking for a teacher and they're discussing, my friends, I'm the first person they'll think about because I always go,
it should be up to them, not to the shit.
Exactly. But they'll still have me in their, in mind as a first person. If somebody just said, who is the teacher that you know?
Yes.
So it should be the same with everybody. If somebody is asking, who is the lawyer I can contact? Who is an engineer? I want to travel to Malawi. Which tour guide can I use? You should be the first name that come to your friend. But sometimes our friends don't even know our side gigs. Our friends don't even know what we do. And in as much as you talk good about yourself, know also to say the same about other people. Almost even in my class, I've told my students, like, how do you not know gamers planning? What are you doing during weekends? If you're not at gamers planning, but that's what you should do. People should know. I have co-workers that I've told to say, oh, if you want to spend a day with your children, you can take them to gamers planet. So the same thing you do with yourself. Because I am your social capital. You are my social capital. In as much as you tell people that are reaching out to you, say, oh, I'm busy, but you can contact my fellow teacher, Cecilia. She can do it for you. I should also be able to do that. It might not be instant. It might not be instant to say the moment I tell somebody go to Gamers Planet, they go. No, but one day when they are free, they're going to remember, oh, they say I'm in Blanta, there's something I can do. I can go for them.
Yeah, and I like what you're saying. Also, because it's like giving us a framework on how this social capital works. It's not like one benefits and the other one doesn't benefit. It's a what's called
a two-way
street. Yeah. It's in bi-direction.
Exactly.
With the I feed you, you feed me.
Exactly.
Intentionally really doing it.
That's why it's called a connection. It's a connection. It's between, if you are a circle of friends, all of you should benefit. And every person might benefit from the same relationship, but in a unique way.
So we shouldn't expect to benefit exactly the same way as...
Your business is for when people are free. My business is for people that are so specific, they want education. We can't benefit in the same.
Not at all.
We cannot. But we have to make sure that, remember, we're pouring in each other's cups continuously. You're building some, and it should, whatever you want to benefit, I should be able to provide to you. That's why we end up having multiple friends that are, different. You can't just have friends that are, because you love the Lord and you love praying, then all your friends are from church. Then you don't do well in other areas.
True.
True. And one thing, I was listening to this sermon, and the pastor there had mentioned to say one of the ways that God blesses people is through man. So God can come to you directly to bless you or to touch you in a certain way that you want, but God also puts his men as in Yeah, yes. You can put men as a resource for you to be able to reach something, to achieve something. So it might not always be about your business, your money, or so. Trust me, there are times that you go in an interview, you see faces that are new, serious faces, and trust me, for some people that will really change their mood and they will not do well.
Yeah, true.
And then you go into another interview, you see one of the people there is somebody you learned with, or maybe you've met somewhere you talked for a little bit, and already that gives you the comfort. You know, you're like, oh, this. You know, you already feel like, so it boosts your confidence because you're like, oh, you know.
And the thing with social capital is that it shows up in unexpected ways. It's not necessarily that you can program it, that, oh, this capital, I'm going to invest it in this and it's going to reward me in this kind of way. It really comes through in ways you did not expect most of the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It comes in when, I would say most of the times is when you need it the most. But most of the times, as you say, it will be unexpected.
Unexpected.
You know, just because you have friends, it doesn't mean they'll be coming to your business, spending millions on you.
And actually, it's not. No, it's actually not your friends. No, actually,
exactly. But what are your friends doing to help? You know. And it's not only in that space. There are some friends that, as long as they understand your goals, they understand what you're running towards. Some friends will not. We even mention you to your potential husbands.
I personally need that friend. But anyway, that's besides the point.
I'll start posting every day.
Yeah, but you know, and also one thing I just remembered. I know the other day we were talking about the let them theory and how it's. I think it's really important also to know that as much as we expect the friends to mention us in certain ways, if they decide not to do that, we shouldn't get offended.
It's still fine.
It's fine.
Okay, it's fine because friendship is something else. It's like, you know, the way we grow up with our parents.
Yeah.
It's not always that they're going to mention you to things. Sometimes you get even surprised. Somebody's asking and they're like, "Oh, my daughter, but she lives in Lilong," and you're like, "I'm right here." You know, like I'm the one. But maybe they also have another friend who does it better than you. But it doesn't mean you're not. You know, like maybe they have a person that can do it conveniently. Maybe they're in the wrong way. Should they call somebody who isn't?
So there's no time to accuse each other.
No. And that shouldn't stop you from building your relationships just because something happened. Yeah. And I think if we were to talk about how to maintain our social capital, one of the things that we need is emotional intelligence.
I remember you hinted on emotional intelligence the other day.
Yes.
So maybe you can explain to us how you understand emotional intelligence.
Yeah, you know, because it is just bringing me from what you've said to say, sometimes you don't always have friends specifically doing what you would want or feel like they should do. It will not be like that. And most of the time it's because we're humans, it will hurt. You know, like, okay, she is more closer to me, but she ended up mentioning trophy when that job needed somebody who teaches. And right now, Kelvin is not even teaching.
Yeah, and you know, I've also had friends who are asking me, we are so close to them.
Yeah.
Why did we decide the two of us?
Exactly, and not them.
Not them.
Yeah. So you be in those kind of situations, but having emotional intelligence. Remember, IQ is the traditional measure of and how
I
well
think we've
you
all
can.
heard about
Yes.
it at one point in our lives.
Yeah, IQ. How well you interpret things, how well you can academically perform, all that.
Yeah, all that.
But EQ is one of the most important skills, because now it talks
So
about
the EQ is standing for
emotional, yes, intelligence,
right?
yes. So emotional intelligence talks about how you can manage your emotions to make sure that they're helping you with the relationships that you make. They are helping you with progression in life. Remember when I on that episode when I mentioned about this, when on the episode of self-learning,
Yes.
I told you that I was in a situation where I didn't like what was going on.
Yeah, you went out to the field for work.
Yes.
Yeah.
So people that were superior to me, and they were doing some things that I didn't like. And when I was being educated on emotional intelligence, my mentor had mentioned to say, there's some things professionally you have to have. Apart from having a high IQ, you also have to have a high EQ, so that you take out some emotions from your professional life when you're dealing with people. So you have to, we all feel emotions, but you have to manage them. That they are logical. And it's the same when you're dealing with friends. When you're dealing with connection, for example, your connection is like your boss, and then in your office you're like 3 people, and because they have chosen somebody else to go to a conference, now you're mad. How is that going to help you? You're mad and you're taking out. It's now not even professional. You're passing him, or you're not even greeting your boss now, because why would he? Like, now you're taking it more personal, as if you're reacting to your mom doing something. So emotional intelligence helps you to manage your emotions, to separate your emotional life from things that don't concern it. For example, a job, a business. You can't be emotional. Do you know how many things customers can do? So you should be there shouting when something goes down. Or your workers, you do something that you don't like. I always have that problem with my tutors, As an agency, we always say, we're the ones that directly contact the client. So if anything, you have to tell me, and then I talk to the client. You find it doesn't happen like that. You find tutors that directly call a client, and the client is coming back and is like, oh my god, your tutor did this, and you're like, no. But we've discussed this, and you signed, we agreed that but you have to take it professionally. And then you have to remind them, remember the rules, you remember we signed this, this is how we handle things. You can't shout. Otherwise you will lose everybody.
And many of us have actually, because of the emphasis on IQ, there is a lot of also focus on our intelligence and ability, intelligence in terms of the ability to to keep content in our head and also be professionals and stuff like that. That we forget that emotional situations that we find ourselves in, and these actually play a big role in our work as well. Because if you do not handle it well, it can affect your business, your career, and everything else. So I like that we're having this conversation with everyone else, so that we begin to change the way we approach things this year, especially 2025, because this is a year where we're doing things differently, and this emotional intelligence, EQ. Do you think it can be learned, or is something that people get to be born with? Because that's the thing with IQ. People are always debating. How can it be learned? Or can you be born smart, or something like that?
No, I think to everything there's an extent. There's an extent to you being naturally talented, And then there's an extent that you can learn. And in most cases, something that is natural to you will not take you anywhere unless you put it into practice, which is not natural.
Yeah.
That's
really profound.
If you're a musician, you would be born with a good music, a good voice. But if you don't start practicing how to write and how to perfect your voice, you do not do anything. You do not. So it's the same with intelligence, be it IQ or EQ. There are ways that some people are naturally born to be maybe resilient. There are some people that are naturally maybe smooth, quiet, or maybe they don't react, in certain ways that some of us would. And then there's also, I think the bigger part of it is that you actually have to control yourself, because as a human being, remember the way we are made. We are made with all the capabilities. Even the most quiet person, trust me, they would be loud in a situation that allows them to be loud. And if they want it, they would be loud. But one thing that God gave us, different from other living things, the control, gives us the power to have control of ourselves and situations. So if you're talking about your emotions, you are capable of bringing out any emotion that any person can. But how now your intelligence will be brought in, or people will know how mature you are when you act or react differently from other people.
So that level of control is very essential.
That level of control is what you teach yourself now. That level of control is because, the thing about emotional intelligence is being able to act or react accordingly, dependent on the situation and the people you're with. If you are, if you are at a football pitch, there's football. Everybody is happy, everybody is noisy and loud, and you're seated there. The way I like sitting, like this. Because you're like, I'm a minister, or I'm a preacher, or I'm a teacher, so no, I don't do loud things. Then you just know that that person, they don't have the emotional intelligence. They don't have intelligence, because as an intelligent person, you do what is supposed to be done dependent on the situation. If we're praying and you're in church, you're praying and you're taking a video, your intelligence is low.
And you're wearing headsets.
And that happens now. A lot of people are just taking pictures, and then what you want to do with those pictures to post later on, in my father's house. No, there's this other tag, like, what do they say? Pretty girls pray?
Yeah.
Yes, pretty girls pray. When you were doing that, everybody else was busy with praying in tongues. And you're busy, you're taking a video.
No, it doesn't make sense.
But now you're at a concert. Everybody is taking a video. It's a secular concert, and you're praying in tongues. Intelligence is good. So there is no, as I said, everything has its own extent. There's no limit to say, you're supposed to act like this. Yeah. No, you're supposed to act like this. Where?
Yeah.
In what situation? You are at a meeting, you're sleeping. And I'm like giving me those examples to say, there's some opportunities that pass you by just because of the way you conduct yourself. So, and today I was watching another sermon this morning. It was talking about being noble. So of course it was a prayer about leaders, national leaders. So it was talking about to say in Africa, most African countries, we don't have noble leaders, and so the pastor said nobility is not about. It's not a function of your position or birth. You know how in the olden days people had to be born
into a certain family.
into a certain family,
Yeah.
yes, and then they're associated to be noble. So they say it's not a function of nobility is not a function of birth, but it's a function of conduct. You know how you said conduct and character. How do you handle yourself? Where? The things you do at home. At home, we do things in our homes.
No one would believe it's.
My feet don't even see the floor. My feet are always on my couch at home.
Yeah.
But I can't do that if I visited people.
No.
I wouldn't. Why would I do that? I can't do that at a public place. You wouldn't see my legs up. You know? So when you're noble, you know how to act. That's the thing about emotional intelligence. And that's the thing that helps us to keep friends. Because the way I act around you, it's not the same way I act with my other friends.
Mm-hmm.
There are things, and I remember you even giving an example in one of our episodes to say, you know what to say around me, and you know some things will not just go well if you, you know?
Yes.
It's the same with me. I know this is a limit that I can push Kelvin. You know, if you're discussing ideas, this is how much I can put in, or I can twitch his ideas. Otherwise, if I take it all down to this level, then we'll not agree.
You're able to know the flexibility that I have.
Yes.
You know, even with this podcast as well. Yeah. And I think also what I like about what you're saying is that level of control that I think the control is all up to you and not other people. I think everyone, even whatever we do, people react to it differently.
Yes.
But the only control that you have is how you yourself as an individual react or present yourself, how you behave in situations. And you know, it's important to teach yourself those kind of like behaviors and skills, and they really go a long way in terms of also how that social capital or how people around you get to mention you. It'll be based, I know you have the ability, but it also be based on how you behave. My dad liked to say, he likes this saying that says, you know, ability can take you there, but it takes character to, you know, maintain you there.
Stay there.
I don't know if he says it like that, but yeah, I think
there's a saying that says.
Yeah, there's a saying that says that.
Like,
So he likes it a lot, and you know, many things that our parents have been telling us are becoming truer and truer as we grow on. Yeah, like, I should have trusted those people earlier on in life.
Yeah, that's true. Even when it comes to a business, anybody can start a business, but to maintain it, how often are you getting referrals? How often are you maintaining customers? And where does that come from? It comes from good service, good customer care, all that. And that is in the character. It's in the character of the people that you meet there. It's also in the character of the owner of the business. Because for your business, if you've employed other people, for your business to have the same character and the same tone, it also comes from you. If you don't notice anything bad in my phone, there's no way you would advise me.
You know?
If you think it's okay, then we're going to be like that. And it's going to be a business like that. And people that are coming in are going to find a problem.
And you know, we take it for granted a lot, especially with businesses and how emotionally intelligent we are in our places of work. Because you go to places and you see the way they welcome you, you're like,
actually, they haven't welcomed you.
They haven't even welcomed you at all. And you're wondering that, what are these guys doing?
Should I just go back?
Should I just go back? But, you know, we have normalized it a lot. I've been in situations where, you know, I've taught people about what I do, but instead of them to appreciate it, they somehow don't give in the energy that I that is expected for me to grow my career or something. They are talking about like, oh, you should not have maybe been a teacher, or you should have not started this business. Do you think it's gonna work? At that point, I expect them to, support me. Somehow, I just feel like there needs to be like sort of filtering, like who can be a social capital, and yeah, I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, it's true, and I think we were also talking about that. When you're making friends, anybody can be your friend. It's possible, and that's why we end up some other people being your close friends, others just my best friends, and then others just friends.
There's a spectrum of how we have arranged
acquaintances. So it's the same when you're building your social capital. You need to know what that person means to you when you're bringing into your connection, and your social capital is going also to be different dependent on your target areas. Okay, for example, I'll give an example for you again. For people that are not gamers but they are your friends, they are your social capital in something else, but they are not a social capital to gamers. Okay. But there would be a social capital, maybe to help you with a job application, to help you in school, to help you to write articles and all that. So do not expect that just because you have a social capital, it means that person is going to be everything. Don't have that.
True.
Then you literally want a human being to become God. No, just because you have a connection. And I think we have those expectations a lot when your friends end up to occupy certain positions, and then you have expectations to say, because he's doing this, then once I apply this job, I've gotten it.
Or my uncle works at this place, and once I graduate from university, I'm going straight there.
No, it's not like that. So it will not be like that. For others, it will be like that. No, but maybe not for you. So you have to make sure that you're keeping your expectations real. Don't have unrealistic expectations of people to say, just because Kelvin and Cecilia are discussing about social capital, then everybody that is in my circle, they have to show that I'm getting some benefit from them. It will not be like that, so the main question is now, because it's like that not everybody can help you, then who can be your social capital? To me, I like to think that you have, as we started saying, to say you have to be intentional with your social capital. And for most of us, we've learned to say, your social capital, your first social capital is your immediate friends. Maybe your friends that you make at school. Because later on, those are the ones that will be ministers, they'll be, directors and all. But it's different. Your social capital has to be the one that directly connects to what you do. For example, my business, I deal with parents and guardians. But students are not my customers because there's somebody who pays for them. So my customer are parents. And because I want my connections to also bring business to me, I try as hard to make sure that when I meet people's parents somewhere, I introduce myself as such. I make sure they know me. I make sure I have their contact. I make sure I let them know to say, I might need help from you one day. I make sure I put in a very good conversation with them, and they become my connection. As young people, please do not fear big people. No matter what
position
they have
accomplished in life.
Exactly. Maybe with me, because of where I'm coming from in academics, that in academics, you know how we work with mentors, professors, and we are advised to say, approach them. Tell them what you do and what you want to do. Tell them what you admire about their work. Tell them to say if they have something going on, they should remember it. With that, we've come to a point where we've, put ourselves in a situation that it's easy to go and start a conversation. But for most young people out there, I know you're not interested in that. For some, it's just because they shy away, and for others, they just look at older people to think they can't benefit them.
And
you can't
also,
be my friend.
like for some, like me, you told me it's the ego.
For some, it's the ego. He says it's fear of rejection. I told him, no, it's ego. Because he always wants a person that, when he's giving an idea, everybody should go like, wow, really? That's what you're doing? But it will not be, it will not always be like that. But maybe that person will meet another person that is talking about it and will go like, oh, this guy that I met was talking about.
I might have not have paid attention to him.
Yeah.
But this guy was saying.
He was talking. Maybe you guys can work together. So it might not be directly through the person that you've met. It might be them connecting. That's why it's called a connection.
A connection. And I recently made a connection like that by just telling a friend, my friend who is not even a teacher or related to the business I wanted to start about like online education. But I just told him that this is what I want to do with my life going forward, and then eventually after 2 weeks he told me with another person was telling him the exact idea that I had, and then he connected us, and together we've been working on something, building something together, because our ideas were literally the same, but it's because of this guy who connected both of us.
Exactly.
So I agree with what you're saying.
Exactly.
And it's also coming from, I think, not being afraid of what you carry inside, and also being ready. People can say whatever they want, they can criticize it, but I think if you believe in it, it doesn't matter the critics that they say. It's you just leave a room for them. I understand, I want to do this, people will criticize, and this is the bundle that I have for the critics. I'll put them here, and just expect it anyway.
And not everybody has to understand what you're doing, because otherwise then this world wouldn't be a unique place. People wouldn't be unique if they understand everything that comes in. There's something that have to be new. We need to, it should take time for us to understand. So that if you had a person out there to ask, who can be my social capital, we say your social capital will be dependent on what you're doing, will be dependent on where you want to go, your goals, what is your passion, and then you make sure that you connect yourself with the kind of people. If your business is in oil, you want to start an oil company one day, there's no way your friends that are in their 20s would be your immediate social capital. Have they ever drilled oil?
No.
You find that your social capital is going to be people that are in their 60s, 70s, people that have done that kind of business before. You need to go and meet them and lead them, the little wisdom that they can share with you. That's what is going to build you up.
Exactly.
You're my friend, you're my social capital on another level. If I want to somebody one day to become a professor, which I want, my social capital is professors that have done it. How have they done it? They should help me to, write and publish papers. If all my friends have never done that before, how are they going to help me?
I really like it. So I can provide things, but I can also not be everything.
You can't provide.
And you are actually just showing us why it is important really to have these social capitals from different dimensions, even different age groups.
Exactly.
And I think most of the time we spend much time interacting with people our age. And I remember one time, even I think it's today, you told me that our social capital is not only our peers, not only the people in our age group, people who are just out of school, who have been out of school for 5 years, people who are not, yet professors and stuff, but you're emphasizing that it doesn't have to be people your age or people who are in the same bracket as you. And I like that you're emphasizing on why it is important to do that. Do you have any other point why this social capital why we should take it seriously, And I know we've been saying this in the conversation, but specifically, what do you want our friends out there to take home, as we finish the conversation, why it's important to have this social capital?
Yeah, I think I'm going to give an example that we used to hate ourselves using that to say, anameza nchiri fura in my connection.
Yeah.
Like that somebody has found a job because they have connections.
Yeah.
When it's put like that, it is put as if it's a negative thing, which is not. Because for a person that has connections, it's an investment. They have invested. And when we have friendships and connections, relationships, we invest time.
We invest time.
We invest in emotions. So for you who only has experience through professional life, and your friend has professional experience, and they have social experience, know that even with your distinction and your degree, the other person is better, because social capital is more demanding actually than just going to class and studying.
Absolutely.
To keep and maintain relationships, it's so demanding. You have to filter out how to engage with people. You have to make time to engage with people. Sometimes you just need to just throw a random hi. One funny thing about me, how I ended up getting into research. I give this example to my students every class I go in.
Okay.
By the time I was leaving college, I think the amount of professors that hadn't gotten an email from me, they wouldn't reach 5.
Wow.
And those emails were not just random emails, they are my CV. So I would always, towards every break, you know how in education we used to change professors a lot. So every semester we used to have it, like from education we would have like maybe 2, 4?
Yeah, I think 4 sometimes.
Yeah. So, and then in sciences, that's where we would maintain some people. But towards every end of semester, I would always do an email to a new professor. Hi, so dear professor, this is Cecilia. I'm in class. I'm interested in the work that you do. How most of those professors, they do surveys.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm interested. She said, so this holiday, if you have, or holidays to come, if you have any gig, any survey, please, you can involve me. So I still have those emails. It was to most of the professors, maybe more than 15 professors. Yeah. And what that did was, every now and then when I meet them and I introduce myself, and they're like, are you that first year? You sent me an email, and I'm like, yeah. With my funny CV then, a CV that only has like voluntary work there, girls guide. Yeah, I'm that. Oh, so what are you doing now? Actually, I have a survey coming up, So, social capital is not people that you talk to every day. It's people that you actually choose to connect with, and they become your forever capital. They become your forever connections. My immediate boss is somebody that taught me in third year at college, so he was a visiting professor, and I also introduced myself in the same way. I sent an email. If there's anything, an internship for the holidays, something like that. And when I finished school, he ended up coming back to me to say, oh, there's actually something. You can come for an internship.
Wow.
There's another professor, also another institution that I work at. She came back to me with an email that I had written 13 months ago.
Wow. Wow.
She never gave me a response, but 13 months later, she wrote back. She's like, are you available this week? Can you come tomorrow? There's this job.
So it was still in her subconscious somewhere.
I didn't believe it happened. But that's what happened. And that's the social capital. Social capital, you will not just meet the people at a bar, at a restaurant, or at a wedding. You will also look for them. Remember, opportunities don't come looking for you. You go searching for them. You go. So if there's a person that you admire, make sure they have your weird email or emails.
Commander, weird. It won't make sense because you guys are two different, I don't know, social setups sometimes, two different academic.
But remain professional.
Remain professional. That's a very important part. Yeah, it will not balance.
It will not balance, and it will not make sense to you or to them at that moment. But later on, trust me, if you're looking to find money to find a business, make sure those people that own banks, the managers, they have a weird proposal from now. And when you look back 10 years later when you're a big name, and they're like, are you the one who sent me a proposal 10 years ago?
Exactly.
And you're like, yeah. And they're like, oh my God. Because that kind of passion and consistency is sometimes what ends up getting you that job.
And actually, right now, immediately after this conversation, maybe not immediately, but later on this week, I know exactly who I'm going to email. As I have learned from this conversation, it doesn't have to balance. I will keep it professional, but there's someone who I've been admiring for quite a long time through their Facebook and LinkedIn. But I really wanted to talk to them, but I just feel like it doesn't, they will ignore me and stuff. But I'll leave my ego aside.
But what if they don't ignore?
What if they don't
remember
ignore
that conversation?
Yeah,
What
the
if?
second episode. Yes, so I know exactly who I'm going to talk to, who knows where it leads to. And I would like to also encourage you guys, if there is someone who you want to intentionally add to your social network, your social capital, reach out to them. Don't be shy like me. Don't really feel like you'll be rejected. It may work out. Not maybe now, but then maybe eventually later on.
Yeah. And that will be your social capital. That will not only help you now, but throughout the lifetime. Because different from the monetary capital, a social capital is a lifelong capital.
Yeah. Alright, okay, and we'd just like to thank you guys, obviously, for joining us again in this episode. You've been with us throughout this year, and this is March, and we don't take it for granted. And we'd like to remind you to share this episode to your friends. It's also a way of, valuing the friendship and adding to the social capital.
You are our social capital out there.
Exactly. And send this to everyone that you value the relationship that you have with them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So thank you. Until we meet again next week. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.